Full.
Yeah, I blame Jim every time I forget to start it.
But not 2 weeks ago, Peter, it wasn't me.
There's catch. Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah. Put it right here.
All right, just a minute. Sorry about that, Chris.
Problem.
We call this.
All right, it's all yours. Yeah, just start over if you don't mind. So,
All right, perfect. Well, I appreciate it, guys. Again, sorry I'm not up there in person. Hopefully I will be for the Christmas party next month, though. Tonight's pattern, I'm going to be demonstrating the Fool's Gold crab. Admittedly, I don't know a heck of a lot about its history. I stumbled across it, I guess, 10, 15 years ago when I moved to Louisiana on a list of top 10 redfish flies. Never really tied it or thought about it. And then a year or so ago, somebody on the North American Fly Fishing Forum out of Texas posted some pictures of it, talking about it was great for reds. And I decided it was just something I was going to add to my arsenal. So I tied some up this past winter. Lo and behold, it produced. Not that, there are a lot of flies that redfish will refuse in South Louisiana. So we'll see if I can ever get a sheepy on it, but at least I know it will catch reds for you. So for this pattern, make sure. So for this pattern, I'm tying on a SC15 size 2 hook. I believe you guys have an SL11, and is it a size 6, Bill?
it's not.
Yep, 6. So effectively it is the same hook gap. Your hook is just maybe another eye length longer than what I'm working with. The SC15 is a tiny little hook compared to a lot of the other saltwater grade hooks. So for you guys, you may either want to tie your eyes a little further back when we start, or if you want to, tie where I am, and then you can just add an extra little loop of mylar in the front of yours to finish it up. But to get going, I'm going to go ahead. I'm using red for my thread color. You guys can go ahead and use whatever color works best for you. This is just my preference for this pattern. And we're going to go ahead and we'll build a bit of a thread base, about the first third or so of the hook shank, almost to half. It looks like I went. It doesn't matter too much. So unfortunately, not being there, I'm not going to be able to see when people have things done. So if you just want to give me a thumbs up or let me know as we go, Bill, that'll be helpful.
Not too tight. So, yeah, you're good.
All right. So from there, you guys should have size small. If you need to get a little deeper, you can also use medium dumbbell eyes. We're going to go ahead and secure those to the top of the hook shank, about an eye length behind the eye of the hook. Again, you guys can go a little further back as your shank is longer if you wish to. So just kind of figure 8 wraps around it to secure it to the hook. It's always hard to show this on a Zoom call, but I think you guys have done some salt patterns before. So once you're happy and they're secure, you can go ahead and continue that thread base all the way to the top of the bend. Sorry, I got to slide way up so that hook stays in focus for you guys. If it goes out, just let me know.
Yeah, that's clear. That's nice there.
Okay, perfect. So from this point, if you do have some super glue, it doesn't hurt to secure the eyes with a drop of that on those thread wraps. I don't have any, and I'm just used to my eyes spinning eventually and just resetting them. So I'm not going to worry about it. So the next portion of this, we're going to tie, I guess it's really the mouth parts. We'll call it the tail as it's coming off the bend, is we're going to use some Arctic fox. I've also seen this pattern tied with Finnish raccoon and even marabou. And I've seen at least one account where they suggested potentially using kind of a chartreuse color as a hot spot. We're going to go with a natural color here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a clump off of my Arctic fox hide. You want to remove the under fur. So if you have a brush, you can comb it out. I did not bring one, so I'll just pull as much as I can. Then we are going to simply tie that in, extending, we'll say roughly a shank length beyond the bend of the hook. You have some excess butt ends extending forward. You can just go ahead and kind of trim those off and cover the remaining bit with thread wraps.
Yeah, let's hold tight there, Chris. We're just getting first round.
Okay.
How far back?
Around a couple of these times.
Okay, yeah,
Now, did he tie it forward and then fold it back?
no, this is reverse tie, this tie.
Sorry, I extended it straight off of the bend of the hook.
This is reversed on the back, a little bit just to hold here. Don't feel it. Or you don't mind. Yeah, a little bit.
This is a fox for.
Yeah. Good, I just.
Oh, yeah, I
See,
see.
loosen it up to that. I thought it was good. See how you grab it, get that grab down.
And start finding that out.
And you wrapped it about that, but you wrapped, you cut it, you wrapped down toward the,
So we leave something hanging over the eyes and trim that?
No, yeah, turn it off once you got it tied.
Okay.
you wrap it, halfway down the hook sector, right?
Maybe a little bit forward, probably all the way back.
That's.
What is it?
Yeah.
That's a very good. Yeah, that's a good practice. You can think you're gonna get so.
Thanks. Oh, that looks good. But I didn't want.
You don't roll.
You got it, huh?
That's probably enough.
Let me check it out.
Well, there's another one that one probably be too.
Yeah, that.
I would.
No, just leave it trim that here and then wrap it on back.
Back to the bin. Up in that kind of rubber.
Yeah, I got all things like
Something
that.
like.
That really films something out of it. I can't. Right, it's weird, but that shit's right.
Oh,
It's like a hula skirt coming up there, John. I have a tendency to retire.
it's not as much.
Right.
To like. Yeah, it's like.
It's
about there, Chris.
Rolling down.
Oh, you're good. Take your time.
When you.
You ready? Okay, we good? Good, y'all?
I think so.
All right, Chris.
Good.
All right, so once we have that set, next thing we're going to do is you guys should each have a saddle hackle. I believe they're in tan or a similar color. Again, I've seen people use these as an attractor color. You could tie it in, say, chartreuse or something if you wanted, but we're going to stick with the natural colors here. And we're going to go ahead and tie that in at the base of that Arctic fox tail. If you can tell, honestly, my feather is surprisingly flat. If you do have a concave side, tie it in with that concave side down with the feather extending kind of back off of the bend of the hook.
And Chris, ours, they have a full saddle hackle, so it's got all the marabou at the bottom.
Okay, yeah, so you do want to pluck that off if there is some fuzz at the bottom there, and then you'll just tie in the stem. So here, I think I have some with that, so.
Yeah, he already cleaned.
But yeah, if you have fuzz at the bottom, strip everything kind of fuzzy off. And we'll go ahead and just take the feather above that point. So,
Might have too much on it. Steam. Yeah.
All right, we're good, Chris.
Good, all right. So once you have that secured, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go and do 3 to 4 touching wraps. So we're going to wrap that hackle feather around the shank of the hook, right at the base of the tail. And with each wrap, kind of brush the fibers back before you make the next wrap. Just be careful not to stab yourself on the hook, as I do almost every day when I do this.
Yeah, no. Moving through about 8 plays. Yes, be wrapped, touch and wrap. You say touching wraps?
Yep, 3 to 4 touching wraps should be good, and then secure your hackle with your thread and trim off any excess. So this is just kind of forming a collar around that tail.
Kind of a touch. There you go. Come for you. Kind of like touch right next to the shoulder on top of each hand.
So then again, any excess you have, you can go ahead and trim off.
The rest off.
The rest is down. That's cool. I don't know. They just. I don't. Figured it wrap it around forward. Bring back the forward. How do you tie it off? You can tie it.
How do you that off?
Oh.
Towards the back.
Make sure you put it tight. There you go. Hold on.
And the gun,
This is not, find out exactly the best on it. Before that, yeah, bring that out, so you can, that's 3.
well, that's. Great.
Pull the whole people back, or it's kind of pushing to the back.
And it's kind of all.
Just hold on.
Yep.
Trying to excess. Whoops, I was let it go there. Did you change direction? I probably did. It might not. If it works. Don't have always look survey. No, listen. The future. Okay.
You must have worked today.
You take this off.
Who does it?
Oh, I'm saying, you probably should prove it out. Gives you that name.
Okay, Chris, we're good.
Okay. So once we have that, the last thing we need to do is going to be a repeat step, and we're going to do the same thing 4 to 6 times, depending how long the shank of the hook is for this. So you guys should have mylar tubing. It's a little different than what I'm using. I have poly tubing that somebody gave me about 30 years ago, and it was probably 20 years old at the time. It's a little more pliable than what you guys have. Yours has an inner core, so we're going to have to see if it gives you any trouble lashing it down. But to start, go ahead and cut about a 1-inch section off of the end of that 6-inch piece of mylar tubing. And go ahead and in your left hand, assuming you're right-handed, kind of center it on the top of your shank right in front of where you just wrap that hackle. And you're going to go ahead and do a couple of cross wraps to secure it. So kind of figure 8s around it.
So Chris, kind of like you tie an eye down.
Yeah, similar to tying the eye down. Yes, that's a good way to put it. So you should, oops. If I rotate my vise, I lose my work. Let me get it secure and then I'll show you what it should look like from the top. There we go.
It leaves the core inside the.
So that's going to be the challenge with this is we have to see if it's better with the core or if you need to pull it out. Again, I'm not working with the same material, so you guys need to let me know what you need to do with that.
That's fine with the core, Chris. It gives it a little bit of stiffness. I don't know if you want that or not, but.
Well, and I was going to say the last step, which we're not going to do tonight, is adding some UV resin to add stiffness to it. So the core may actually help with that, and you won't need the UV resin.
There you go.
So as long as you guys can lash it down with that core in there, I would do it that way. So.
I don't know which way you came. You got some wild hair sticking out.
Chris, we're gonna continue with the 1 inch. Towards that.
So once you have that first one done, we're going to repeat that process at least 3 more times. If again, with the longer shank, you may want to use 5 total sections, but that'll be kind of a determination as you wrap it. So immediately in front of your last section, we're going to repeat that process, which is a bit of a pain because you got to kind of wrap between, but you want to keep them close to get the body look that you're aiming for here.
I barely have room for 2.
Okay, well then 2, it may be a larger material that I'm using, so you guys may only need 2 or 3, which isn't a bad thing. As long as it's filling the body, you're good.
Huh. That's weird.
Peter, you might could wrap back. I don't know about wrapping your hackle down, but wrap back more toward the bend on one.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go back.
Yeah, a little bit longer body section.
Yep, I'm going to do that.
These are late.
Okay.
And I will show you mine. One thing I did that isn't going to make it perfect is I had a little bit too much of a hump where I tied in that Arctic fox. So there was a slope on top of my shank. So when I try to tie it in right next to each other, that second one actually slides forward, leaving a bit of a gap, which isn't a problem necessarily. We can kind of pick the material apart and spread it so it'll fill, but we're trying to wrap them as close as we can to each other.
I didn't know where. Oh, you think to the right.
And then all this stuff comes out.
Here.
We'll see.
So. It's your name. And they got a card. Pull it back. I didn't have to use it. Salt water back.
Come on, comes farming.
Yeah.
You can hit it. On this mylar, you can also hit it with a lighter when you get home, and we'll catch on fire. So you can put fire. You know, it does flame up a little bit, but you can burn the ends of it and it'll help keep it from unraveling. So
There's that hole in there. Yeah, it's too cold.
You don't remember one on this one. I put my eyes back, there's 2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got mine back.
So I put my eyes back, so. Cool and front,
Put them all in front. Red back down. Red back down. It is.
mine is under.
It appears.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I was getting all that over on my lord. Yeah, see, I just, I put the eyes back though. He said, his was up here, his was up here. And he said, we could go back, so I went back a little.
And our Mylars looks a little aggressive.
Are you able to fit a few more in, Peter?
I can only squeeze, I can put 2 in behind the dumbbell.
Okay.
I can try to put one in the front, but I don't think you want one in the front, right?
So we can get on
In
that.
front of the eyes.
I would stick to behind the eyes. So yeah, maybe your dumbbell on a next attempt you could do would just slide the dumbbell a little closer to the eye of the hook.
Yeah.
Another thing, Chris, the core you're talking about, I think the core is making it larger. Like I can see yours is compressed in the middle.
Right, and I was wondering about that.
Yeah, so the core is making it a little bit larger. So you can't pull that core out. It is out of that section.
And yeah, I have not found this material anywhere. When I search poly tubing, it just comes up with mylar tubing now. But yeah, I have a few spools of this, and again, they're 25, 30 years old at least, and makes this pattern much nicer as you don't have to deal with that inner core on the mylar tubing.
I've got enough stuff.
Do you want the mylar the gold tubing same size each segment, or it doesn't matter?
So we'll trim it, like you're talking about length on either side of the hook shank?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we can trim it to shape at the end, so it doesn't have to be exact.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to try a second copy.
Finish this?
Finish this one and try a second copy or one copy, whatever.
We'll finish now, Chris. You got the stuff to do.
Nothing done.
Yep, so once you guys have as many segments as you can put in, move your thread to the front of the eye, build up a little thread head, and then you can just whip finish. The only other thing we'll have left once you've done that is simply trimming the mylar to shape. You know, if they're, as Peter was asking, do we want them all the same length? The way I've been shown to do it is doesn't really matter when you lay it down to begin, but give it a bit of a rounded profile. If you have any that are sticking out towards the end, kind of trim them slightly shorter. But again, it's all to preference. With the tubing I'm using, where it is a little more pliable, I will, before I fish this, I don't have it with me, I will actually put a fair bit of UV resin along the top. One, it'll protect those threads in case I do get into some sharp oysters or something. Two, it kind of solidifies the fly, because in my case, without that inner tubing, this thing will almost go flat on me. We want it to keep kind of a crab shape. So if you are using a more pliable material, you do want to add a little UV resin to kind of the core of the fly to keep it from collapsing on itself.
Well, I guess, and then you couldn't get it's yeah, it is. Well, that's I was gonna be on that. Chris, this went quite a bit faster than I thought, so I'm cutting materials for a second copy.
Okay. Yeah, oh wow, yeah, not even 7 yet. Perfect.
Peter, did I send you enough for 2?
You did, thank you.
Good, I thought, yeah, I did that just in case. So we're gonna go ahead and tie a second copy here. I'm cutting materials as we speak.
I guess any questions on technique before we start the second one? Something I skipped over, or?
No. Yeah. I need to
Maybe we'll try pulling, let me try pulling the core out of this piece of this and see how it reacts. Yeah, it works fine pulling the core out, so.
Okay. So let's try that with the second set for you guys.
Well, is that not in there? Well, Paul, I know, my friend question that all I can see. Somebody likes to ignore it. I did. No.
Now, this is, the only thing has to be like for money, like they did for you today.
Oh, I got one in bed.
I thought this was real. I didn't.
I don't click on anything, I go to the top and say. That's not enough. Nice. Yes, sir. Let's go to the committee.
Well, really, very, 6 inch.
It's 6 1/4, it's pretty close.
6 1/4?
Yeah. Oh, yes. He is. Right.
Close enough, but I work for the government, so. You got per hour? No, I haven't had it out yet.
I actually like I had more control.
Oh, it's a good night on, it has. Okay. We'll use it next time.
All right.
Yes.
Mark, you need to finish it, I
didn't get any further. I didn't get further.
We just didn't get another thing out.
You know why you can get one next to Mike? Yeah, and every time I hand out, it's still Mike.
Yeah, that's- Told you I'll be present.
You let me out on purpose, you do, right? I know, told you won't have.
Is it wire or?
Get your own.
I didn't say that.
We're just about there, Chris.
Okay, nope, you guys are good. Ketch and I are just discussing in the chat other options. And he was talking about kind of a gold Lurex like flat cord braid, and that probably is a pretty good comparison to this stuff. I think something you wouldn't have to pull the mylar cord out of or core out of. So there are some other options you could probably use for this pattern other than that kind of hollow tubular braid.
Should mix it, Mike. I mean, I'm wrong.
So are you recommending on the second ply that we do pull out the center?
Oh,
Yeah. I think that's what they're planning on doing, Peter. Yep.
Yes, Peter, because I pulled one out and now if you can't pull out from the full piece, just pull it out from each of the cut pieces.
Okay, thank you.
I'll pull the four out and then.
oh, they get everything right here. What's it? Okay, well, do it. I don't know. They're going to get all that.
Yeah, you, sir.
You'll use anything.
Orlando will use this, so you'll finish it. Got me big eyes.
But the thing is, he didn't want that as fish.
I won't what?
You won't that as fish for us.
He wouldn't have land for me, old sucker. Dude, I lost 360 yards away, wouldn't loan me his net.
Did you?
80 yards away, man.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody got your stuff?
We don't have.
Eyes, right there.
What am I shooting for? 3 or 4 gold bars? How many should I ideally?
I'd shoot for 4 if there's room, 3 if not. Again, I think your material is a little broader than what I'm working with. I haven't seen it up close compared to this, so you probably do not need as many sections as I do.
Okay, thanks.
Appreciate you.
All righty.
We're doing eyes, Chris, and then we'll get ready to roll.
Just like I got, Rick.
Okay, and now Peter, I expect you to go catch a tog or something on this. So
Oh, I've never caught a tog.
I don't think very many people do on a fly. I've seen a few pictures of people who have done it, but it's not one I've ever really attempted.
I don't even, saltwater.
Yeah. Is
I've
it
only
to
done,
call-
I've only caught striped bass and bluefish. That's the only thing I've caught.
I mean, that's what everybody wants to catch anyway, so you're doing the right thing there.
Okay, Tog, I'll keep that in mind though.
Yeah, some sort of bottom dweller that sometimes is near shore, but
Oh,
No, just plain.
I'll keep that in mind.
No, they get black on there. You want to keep black.
Yeah, that's one.
Okay.
Dude over there small, please.
Yeah.
All right, great. It's all yours again.
all right, so let's try this again. Same way as we started out last time. Go ahead and build a thread base along about the front third of your hook shank, starting right behind the eye of the hook. Go ahead and trim that thread tag. Apologies if you guys can hear the Baton Rouge sirens in the background. Hard to get away from them. All right, so once we have that thread base, we're going to go ahead and tie in our dumbbell eyes. So I switched up to a size 1 hook and medium eyes this time to hopefully make it a little more visible. So I'm going to tie that in about 1 eye length behind the eye. So just using cross wraps. Secure that. And once I'm happy and that's secured, we'll go ahead and continue our thread base to the bend of the hook.
So Chris, give me just a second.
Yep. So you're good. I figured this would be a good pause point while we get everybody caught up.
Yeah, the bend of the hook on this hook we're using is about the barb. So that we want to wrap to about the barb. Like on your hook, it's at the point.
Oh, gotcha. Yours is all the way to the barb. Okay, yeah. So you're going to need to wrap a little further than I am. I did not realize that.
Yep, yep. And that may be why some of the body sections wouldn't fit.
That would make sense then. Yes. I should have. I did not have any SL11s at the house.
Okay, so perfect. Yeah, you want to make the picture right. Okay, let's try it. So there.
Good.
Oh, that's like this.
You know, you say, yeah. Right, I'm all the way north of bar.
I think it was smaller than I. Like that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to get your length, get the length you want. Yeah.
Yeah, no, take some blue dress. I'll see it there.
I thought the one area. It is when you put over.
As big as any one of us, caught it, I'm pretty sure.
I've never caught them like that.
25 watts.
23 and a half.
What?
All right, Chris, I think the eyes are in and. Thank you.
All right. So yeah, if we have our thread base back to the bend, we're going to go ahead and trim off another section of Arctic fox. Go ahead and either brush out or pluck out that underfur. We don't need that in there. It'll just kind of make it harder to tie down, a little more clumpy.
It's better.
Yep. All right, once we're happy with that, go ahead and about roughly a shank length extending from the bend is what we're looking for. So tie it in with the tips facing back. And go ahead and trim any excess butt ends.
Chris, you're wrapping that all the way to behind the eyes.
I did this time just because I had trimmed such a long section. But you can, if it's a shorter piece, you could just wrap it and trim it right at the bend as well. I mean, I kind of made a mess by doing it. You can see
It's better.
I've got a whole bunch of fuzz. And I also managed to clip my thread, if anybody noticed that. So, oops.
I ain't never done that.
So ideally, I'd like to cover the butt ends completely with thread, but if I make a mess of it and a little showing through, I don't think the fish are all that picky about it. But once we're done with that, I'm going to return that thread back to the bend at the base of that Arctic fox tail. And I'm going to go ahead and select another of these saddle hackle. Go ahead and strip off the fuzz at the bottom. And we'll go ahead and tie that in, extending off the bend of the hook as well. Concave side down, if you guys can tell. Again, I don't know if it was the dye process or what, but mine are fairly flat and don't really have a concave side anymore for some reason.
Yeah.
On Saturday, we generally don't use stuff.
All right, and just let me know when you guys are ready to proceed from there.
You want to wrap that saddle as tightly as you can to keep from giving enough space.
Correct, yep. So you guys ready to start wrapping the saddle? Everybody has it tied in?
It's wider to get out than you try to wrap it as close as you can. So that's correct.
So,
Yeah, you go around like that, make sure you come right next to the yeah. Anyway, it's back behind the top.
yeah. Probably should have.
So yeah, as we wrap that, as I think it was Jim there was saying, you want to do touching wraps, pretty much wrap it over top of itself, just brushing it back with each wrap so that they don't get caught up. And you're kind of just forming a collar around that tail as you go.
Don't mess it up here.
Oh, that's the one you can.
Right there back.
Yeah.
Oh, rabbit.
Not full.
Okay. That's right.
It's down.
Yeah. Yeah, when I had tied in, I was like, well, that's good. I have a good day in front there.
Yeah, look at that.
Still think I got 3 pieces in there.
Yeah. Got this one like that. Okay. You go without that cord. This one called most of them fish on. Mad dollar. Bridge set we all did.
She finds it, we might have to try something else. I mean, first day, and, then I said, mad dog, yeah.
Was she having a mega worm on, is that what she had on, or?
So once you've done your 3 or 4 touching wraps there, palmering that back, go ahead and just trim off any excess.
Hold this back.
Yeah, you have to deal with it.
On that.
Well, that's more. Yeah, but that cut is cut. It's more better than the next year than instead of that. Should not that. It's too many out. But just trim that half. And. Without that cool and it's cinched down.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're starting on legs, on bodies, Chris.
Okay. Perfect. So yep, once you guys are good there, we'll go ahead and same thing. just use those cross wraps, same as the eyes, and go ahead and tie in those body segments right in front of the tail, moving forward to the dumbbell eyes.
Yeah, that's where we're going out. So we go back. Here's some presses down there. Another idea. We definitely come go ahead, so I got mine on first. I get it. I got skills. I ain't looks fine. It's yeah, there you go. Now, you just go through the legs again.
Peter, they fit better without the 4?
Yeah, I was barely able to do it, but I could squeeze 3 in.
Okay, so perfect. Yeah, so I think it's just a thicker diameter material than I'm dealing with. That's why I fit 4 sections in, and you're getting 3.
And when you put the UV resin, did you put it on the underside or from the top?
So I put it on the top. So once you've rotated it the way it would sit in the water, so the hook point's going to be facing up.
Oh, that's right.
So I would put the UV resin on that side when I did the UV resin at the end.
With the hook facing up.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, I forgot about that. That's true. That's true.
And I'll actually again extend that UV resin a little bit onto the mylar material itself, just to kind of help it maintain shape in the water.
Right, you're running along the whole length of the gold.
Not the whole length. I'll run it along the shank of the hook and then kind of onto the mylar closest to the shank.
Okay, that makes sense.
You don't need to solidify the entire thing, but at least it'll allow it to maintain a little more shape if you add a little bit to the middle.
Okay.
Chris, it looks like this mylar tubing we have that we got from Shack or wherever it came from, it unravels pretty easily.
Yeah.
The ends do.
Okay.
That's why I mentioned like hit it with a lighter or maybe a little UV resin on the ends, the tips and stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
Not both, because it's burning.
Yeah, not both, yeah. Yeah, because I tried it today at home and it does melt it, but it also catches on fire. So.
Yeah.
Do you know I have a fly pattern for this fly that I found elsewhere,
Okay.
and they unravel the mylar tubing.
So I've seen that in some that people do. They pick apart the ends of the mylar after they put the UV resin on the center. Is that kind of what you're talking about, or?
Yeah, it's just unraveled like you would do any other type of,
Okay, and that's probably a good idea because that'll fill out that body a little more even.
Yeah.
Well, Flip, that would be very easy to do with and like the mylar I sent you.
Yeah. I've tied them with that type of mylar, and I always unraveled them.
Okay, excellent. Have you had luck with this pattern before, Flip?
No, actually, I only use 2 flies. That's a Terminator crab and a spoon fly.
Gonna say that's hard to beat those 2, except I don't want to be the one who volunteers to teach the Terminator crab.
Yeah.
Gonna say that's a tough one.
It's about the same as this one.
I feel like that's a tougher pattern to tie. Maybe I just need to try harder. But I appreciate that insight. That's a good one, Flip. All right. So how's everybody's round 2 turning out?
Better.
Way better. Way better? Yeah, way better.
Yeah, the other one.
Much better.
Good. Well, glad we had time for a second round then.
Yeah, that one only took 20 minutes, but it's a pretty quick time, yes, sir.
So.
It is. Not a lot of steps to it.
Well, yeah.
I just scooted forward.
I thought you needed room.
No, I needed something to hold my balance. So I could stretch.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Have you fished these at all in freshwater?
I have not tried this in freshwater. I tried it a little bit last, I guess it was February timeframe for redfish, and it definitely did the trick for those, but I've yet to attempt this in freshwater. I mean, I know it's supposed to be a crab, but I'm fairly confident most warm water freshwater species would grab it too.
Okay.
Peter, the size of your bluegills up there, you could probably catch a bluegill on it. So.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Last year. Yeah, bring will be last year.
I found most flies are interchangeable. I'll throw panfish flies at redfish and carp flies at everything that swims. And
Yeah.
All right, Chris, everybody's wrapped up here, so we appreciate it.
well, no, absolutely, guys. I appreciate it, and yeah, hopefully I'll see a bunch of you come December for the Christmas party.
Good, good. Peter, I hope to see you in a couple of weeks. So.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Catch, be careful out there, Flip. Hang in there, man.
Thanks, man.
Take care, guys.
Thanks so much.
All right, see y'all. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. Good night.